Okay, so my sister was watching Nikki DeMar's video. I think that's her last name. She's from Nikki and Gabby. Anyway, and she did this video on shopping from small Instagram brands, and one of the brands was Shop Fluffy. And she said, Ingrid, you should make this cardigan. It's really cute. And I was like, yes, I should. So I'm going to show you how to make it. I'm currently on their Instagram. Just, if you want to look it up, just search Shop Fluffy. And I'm just clicking in all the pictures of that sweater that I want to make. It's called the Pink Lady cardigan, I think. And it's really cute. So I'm going to show you how to make it. I'm going to go to their shop in a second. But the brand is actually really cool. Everything is hand crocheted. It's ethically made. They use, vegan wool. So it's a really cool brand. They, obviously because it's handmade, their cardigans are relatively pricey, which is 100% understandable because it's handmade, totally worth the money. But if you're someone who, can't really spend that much on an item, you can always make it yourself. I believe the price is 75 pounds, which roughly is 100 US dollars. Not to mention that the majority of their cardigans go out of stock really fast, so the chances of you being able to buy one is pretty difficult. Okay, so I just got this yarn from Michael's, and I'm using 3 balls of it, well, around 2.5, but it's the Loops and Thread brand and Cream Cotton color pink. Okay, so my goal for this is to show how I got each of the measurements for each of the pieces that I'm going to be making, so that if you're not the same size as me, you know how to do it and figure out the measurements that work best for your body. So I'm on medium small, and this t-shirt here is a small. What I'm doing is I'm just from seam to seam on one side, I'm just laying a piece of yarn down. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick that up, and sorry, I'm doing this with one hand, so it's a little, and I'm going to fold it in half. And that's what's going to be the length for one of my front panel pieces. So I'm starting with just a simple slip knot, and then I'm going to chain 31. This video is not going to show you the very basics of crocheting, but there's many videos on the internet of that, so you can just look at those. After I chain 31, I am going to just do a single crochet row. Done. Working on that. Now, okay, I'm just finishing that row. Now, I'm gonna, crochet a stitch, flip it over, and I am going to do a double crochet. And that's pretty much the same stitch I'm going to be doing for the rest of the video. So to do a double crochet, you just wrap the yarn around, and I'm going to show it again. Wrap the yarn around, go under, pick the yarn up, and again. So you should have 3 loops on your crochet hook before you pull it through. And now you know how to do that. You are going to do 30 rows of that. So it's quite a lot. So after I've done 30 rows, now I'm going to drop a stitch every row for 10 rows. So you should drop 10 stitches in total. To drop a stitch, basically just do a half double crochet, but instead of pulling through, you're going to go into another whole loopy thing. And you're going to basically combine those 2 stitches into one, and then you get rid of 1 stitch. This is what it should look like after you've dropped 10 stitches and 10 rows. Now you're going to just crochet 7 half double crochet rows after this. So just 7 more, not dropping any stitches. If you aren't doing your sweater the same size as mine, how you can measure when you should be done going in is if you fold it in half, the diagonal should reach halfway. So as you can see, my diagonal reaches halfway. Okay, now I'm done after you did the 7 extra rows, and this is what it should look like. I know it looks a little bit weird right now, but I promise it'll look better once the rest is put together. For the back, this is how it's going to look compared to a t-shirt, so you can get a size of how big it is. So I'm going to cast on 61 stitches, which is twice as much as my front because it's twice as wide. Instead of doing 2 panels, we're just doing one big one. But you can see this is how it fits with my t-shirt. I didn't put it all the way to the top, but it's supposed to be a crop sweater, so it doesn't really matter lengthwise. But widthwise, I'm just showing you how it lines up with my t-shirt. Okay, so again, chain 61 or twice as much as what you change for the front panels. And then what you can do is just do 1 row of single crochet. It's a really fast version of me doing that. Okay, once that's done, you're going to do 55 rows of half double crochet. Okay, so that's all you have to do for the back, but I'm going to show you how you can get rid of your loose threads cleanly. So I'm just going to take that last slip knot, I guess, and I'm going to stretch it out and then cut the thread so it's not attached to the yarn, ball of yarn anymore. And I'm just gonna pull it through. That's it, simple. And now I have a thread. Make sure you don't cut this too small because you know you need to be able to thread it in. You can always cut it smaller later. But I'm just gonna take a needle. It really doesn't matter what needle it is. It can be a embroidery needle, yarn needle, as long as you can thread yarn through it. That's all I need to be able to do. So threading my yarn through it, and I'm just going to kind of weave this in and out of my yarn. So, you know, just try to hide it. That's pretty much all you need to do. Okay, so to get the measurements for the arm, either you can do what I did, which was chain 56, or if you want it to be a different size than mine, you can start by chaining 56 and then wrap that around your arm and keep chaining and adding more stitches until it fits comfortably around your arm in a loose, baggy way. We're trying to go for the oversized look. So there is a bit of wiggle room, and you can, doesn't really matter how precise it is, but just whatever you think will look good around your arm, you know, nice and loose. Okay, so I already chained 56 and I did 1 row of single crochet. You've already seen me do that twice. You don't need to see me do it again. And now I'm going to start doing the half double crochet rows. So for the sleeves, I'm going to do 3, and then I'll show you what to do next. Okay, so I've done the 3 half double crochet rows, and now I'm going to connect them. To do this, I am just going to put my crochet hook into the first stitch on the other side, and this creates this kind of loop circle thing, and I'm going to do a slip knot. That is not a slip knot, but you should do a slip knot, but if you do that, it won't make a difference. Okay, now I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to do just a regular row of half double crochet. Okay, so I'm just showing you the last few stitches of that row, but make sure you get this weird little in-between stitch. At first I didn't, and I was dropping stitch every single row, which is not what we want to do. But yeah, so make sure you're getting every single stitch. And so once you finish the row, what you're going to do is you're going to go to the other side, and you're going to struggle. But then you're going to pull the yarn through like a normal stitch, and chain 1, and then turn it around. And you're going to do another row of half double crocheting. Actually, you're going to do many rows. 15 rows to be precise. Okay, so now after 15 rows, what you're going to do is I'm going to show you how to drop a stitch. So just simple slip knot, finishing that row, chain 1, flip it around, and now just going to do a regular half double crochet stitch, and then we are going to drop a stitch. So do normal, and then instead of pulling through, go through the next stitch till you have 5 on your thing, on your hook, excuse me, and then you're gonna keep doing your half double crochet for the rest of the row. And basically you're gonna do this once every 5 rows for 30 rows, till you have 45 rows in total. That's what it looks like. Yay, you should have dropped 6 stitches in total. And now we're just gonna keep. Okay, and now you are going to drop 1 stitch every 3 rows until you are done with whatever length you want your sleeve to be. Okay, so I ended up doing 93 rows in total, but I'm pretty tall. I'm 5'8", and the sweater's supposed to have the oversized look, but I would just kind of crochet until you think it's long enough for you. You can try it on while you're crocheting, so that's really helpful, and just see where you want it to end. You know, if you want it to go past your fingers, do that. If not, don't. Okay, 2, magic. Basically, you're just going to do the whole thing you did again, obviously. Okay, now we are going to start by stitching these together. Small disclaimer, the front panels I redid, so they're not supposed to look like this. They're supposed to look like what they did before, but I already showed myself stitching this one up, and I didn't film the other one, which I should have, but just trust that your front panels are supposed to look like they look. I'm just tying the 2 pieces together. You really don't need to do this, but sometimes it helps me keep things in place. Basically, just whatever needle you're using before, a regular embroidery needle, yarn needle, anything that you can fit the yarn through. And I'm just going to stitch this up. I don't know what this stitch is called. Maybe like an over or something stitch. I'm not sure. But you can see what I'm doing and you can see how it looks because this is going to be the back. So, like the underneath of it. So you can see what it's going to look like. Just stitch it up. Simple, that's it. Okay, so I did the other side. Yay, and this is kind of what it looks like. Nice little vesty thing. um, so now we are going to stitch on the sleeves. This is slightly more complicated, but as long as you use your judgment, I think you'll be able to figure out what's going on. Okay, so you want to just make sure everything's nicely lined up. The front piece is shorter than the back piece, that's fine. Just make sure it's lined up at the bottom. So I'm taking my sleeve, and the underneath should be that line down the back of it where you connected the two pieces pretty much. And I'm just flattening it so that part is in the middle. And then I'm turning it around. And now I'm going to line it up so that the top of my shoulder is in the middle of the sleeve. As you can see, I did right there. Okay, so now I'm just going to stitch this up. I tied a knot. You can also leave the ends out and just weave in both of the ends. So I'm doing a stitch, pretty much the opposite of what we did before, but same idea. Instead of going over, we're just going under. You want to make sure that you're not stitching through to the other side. So you're only keeping the top of the sleeve and the top of the vest part. And I'm going to stitch this all the way up to the top of my shoulder. Okay, so I'm at the top and I'm flipping it over and I'm just going to pull that sleeve down so that the line, the bottom, is underneath. And now I'm just going to sew along every line that is there. So there's 3 more lines approximately. So I'm going to sew down this one here, still making sure that it's only on one side, right? And flipping it over, I'm going to sew down that side as well. And then should be done with the sleeve. And you're just going to do that for the same for the other sleeve. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch down the side of the sweater cardigan thing, just where I'm showing. Just going to stitch along that, same as like I did for the top of it. Okay. Okay, now we're just going to stitch up that little hole on the armpits, which is just from before we join the sleeves together. Yay, we're done with the sweater part. I'd recommend trying it on because once you put the flowers on, it's going to be more difficult to make adjustments. But you can see this is what it looks like on me. Just make sure to try it on. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to make the flowers. So you're going to do the same thing for every single flower, just doing different colors. You're going to need 2 colors for every flower. So I'm starting by making an X around my finger, and I'm taking the string, part of the X that's closest to the edge of my finger, and using a crochet hook and looping it around like that. Okay, now I'm going to chain 3. Okay, after I've chained 3, I'm just going to turn it around so that I'm working on the part of the circle loop thing that doesn't have the other string attached to it. Like that. Just, it's easier, less messy. Okay, so now I'm gonna do a double crochet. So to do this, you do the same thing as a half double crochet, but instead of pulling through at once, you pull through and then pull through again. So again, okay, again, so double crochet, I wrap the yarn around, I pull through from the bottom, have 3 loops on my hook, and then instead of pulling through all at once, I am going to wrap the yarn around again. I'm going to pull through the first 2, and then I'm going to wrap the yarn around again and pull through the last 2. Done. You have your double crochet. Okay, so I'm going to do this 9 times. So after I've done 9 double crochet stitches, I'm going to find the tail, not where the yarn is connected to, but the end of the tail. I'm going to pull it tight. This is going to make that circle loop thing in the middle really, really small. So as you can see I'm doing now. So now I'm going to take my crochet hook and I'm going to go into the first stitch of a circle thing, and I'm just going to do a simple crochet stitch to connect them. I'm going to leave these 2 on my hook like this. So I'm just cutting the yarn because we don't need any more pink. And now we're going to move on to adding the green. Okay, so I'm just going to position the green thread like I would any thread while crocheting, and I'm going to bring it through those 2 hoops from before, the pink hoops. And now I'm going to chain 6. Once I have 6, I'm going to skip the first chain and go into the second one and just do a single crochet. And next I'm going to do a half double crochet, so wrap around and then pull through the 3. Next I'm going to do a double crochet like we just learned, so wrap around and then pull through 2 and then the last one. So that was a mistake. Okay, now I'm going to do a half double crochet. And now I'm going to do a single crochet. So it's kind of like an up and down sort of pattern. Okay, once I'm done, I'm going to stick the crochet hook into the first stitch, I guess, of the circle. There should be 9 of them. I can tell where it is because that's when my pink yarn comes out. So like that, and I'm just going to do a regular single crochet stitch. Okay, now I've done that, I'm going to flip my work around, not upside down, just the other way around, and we're going to start crocheting into the other side of the chain. So that chain 6 we did, now we're going to work on the other side of it. So we're going to do the same thing as before, single crochet like that, and then a half double crochet, a double crochet, okay, so this is supposed to be a half double crochet. I did a single crochet. That's my bad. Wrong. And then you're supposed to actually do a single crochet for the last one. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to make slip knots down the other side of the petal. So our goal is to get back to the center. So I'm just going to put my needle through that side and slip knot like that. Okay, so I'm going to do that down the rest of the petal, so you should do it 6 times. Now we're back near the center of the flower. I'm going to do one single crochet just like that, and now we're done with the petal. So we're going to do that 9 more times, exactly the same. To get to the next petal, I'm just going to stick my crochet hook through the next stitch. Simple. Okay, so I will show you all the colors that I used for my flowers in a second, because I'll show you all the flowers that I made. But I know everyone doesn't have the same colors as me, obviously, but my advice when you're choosing your colors would be think of like kids' colors, you know, bright colors that are fun, you know, maybe nothing like, you know, all brown. Nothing that's like earthy, nothing that's like pastel-y. You want bold, bright colors. I ended up making 29 flowers for my cardigan, but you know, anything around that much, 25, 35, anything looks great. Just, you know, if you're making a bigger cardigan, I would advise doing a little bit more. But other than that, it's kind of up to you. Okay, so here are all the flowers that I made, and this is my cardigan. I laid it out, and this is just how I'm going to be putting them on, just placing them on. It doesn't really matter where you place them on, just evenly spread out. You can also try it on. I would recommend not having anything that like is directly on your elbow or anything that's awkward spacing. Okay, so this is how you attach them to your cardigan. I'm just opening up the petals like this. You don't really have to, but I think it makes it a little bit easier because they get a little bent and scrunched up. Okay, so right now I have a lot of strings in the back. I'm just kind of tying them, making sure they're out of the way. And we only need one dark purple string, so I'm cutting the other one because we're going to use this to attach the middle part. You don't really need to attach the middle part because the rest of it's gonna be sewn down, but I like to because it makes it feel more secure and stable. Okay, so taking my needle just approximately where I want the flower to be, the center, I'm just pushing it through, and I'm just gonna go back up to the other side of the flower from the bottom of the sleeve, from the back, excuse me. Just like that. And I'm going to do that a couple times to make sure that the center is really secure. You want to make sure that you're not sewing the front and the back of the sleeve together because your arm needs to fit through it, so that wouldn't be good. Okay, so once I've done that, I'm going to flip over to the other side and I'm just going to secure that thread in place. It doesn't really matter how you do it, just as long as it's secure. It's going to be on the inside of your sweater, so no one's really going to see it, but you still want to keep it relatively tidy. So I'm just going to tie a knot like that and cut it off. Okay, now I'm going to take that teal color and I'm going to just sew all the petals down. This is going to take a little while because, you know, I have to stitch each petal individually. I'm taking a new teal thread. The ones that were already attached aren't going to be long enough. So I'm going to pull it around sort of like this, and then once we're done, I'm going to tie the two ends of the thread together. But, yeah, so I'm just taking my needle and I'm going in and out. You don't need to pull all the way through. You can go down and up in the same motion, which is easier when your flower isn't at the end of your sleeve and it's more like in the middle so you don't have access to the bottom. But yeah, whatever works. This is it halfway down. I'm just going to do the same thing to the other side. Okay, so this is what it looks like in the end.